A Change in Fashion. Written by ITK. Chapter 3. Change. Glamour let out a sigh as she trudged through the streets of Manhattan. Tired and despondent, she had tried to just wander for the rest of the night to try walking off the gloom of yet another disappointing day. It has been a few days since the fashion show rehearsal, and she had been busy. After finally getting used to the crowds and layouts of Manhattan, she had started looking for ponies to siphon love from. So far, she had a limited amount of success. A very limited amount. Most of the ponies she tried to get to know were either too gruff or too much in a hurry to spare more than a few words. The few that did happen to stop and speak were worry of giving her too much of their information. It probably did not help that she asked what they did at home with their loved ones. Glamour had also attempted to stalk a few couples, but between the noisy atmosphere and the huge crowds, she would end up losing track of her targets long before obtaining any useful information. Each fruitless day had made her worry more about her food supply. The love she extracted from Arlington would not last forever, and she needed to secure a food source before she began to run low. At last, she had the fashion show after tomorrow to look forward to. Ever since she saw the rehearsal, the show had been the forefront of Glamour's mind. Even with the odd choice of clothing on many of the models, it was still a lot of fun to watch. It had even kindled a lot of curiosity in fashion. In fact, when she was not frantically hunting for a pony to feed off of, she had been stopping to look at the clothes on ponies in the windows of stores. With all the adoration that would likely be filling the whole place, the fashion show was also going to help replenish her energy. When Coco gave her a ticket for the show, she probably much given her a free meal ticket as well. Speaking of, Glamour was kind of hoping to meet Coco again. If it were not for the generous pony, Glamour would not have had as fun at the show. Not to mention, as she saving her from being punted out of the building, even if they could not enjoy the show together. Glamour wanted to at least try to thank Coco for her generosity. Still, despite the fun and free food from the fashion show she was going to bring her, it was only going to delay her troubles if she did not find any ponies to steal love from. As Glamour turned a corner into a residential area, trying to think of a way to keep her fed, she found her mind had started to entertain the idea of attending more fashion shows. With all the fans and enthusiastic that flocked to them, seafoaming the adoration in the air would have been a lot easier and safer than trying to romance some pony's loved one. Of course, that would mean she needed a way to attend fashion shows on a frequent basis. Since Coco just started putting her work on display, Glamour doubted that Coco would be able to attend many fashion shows, let, let alone give out free tickets to them. The thought of constantly bothering Coco just for tickets also did not sit well for Glamour. Sneaking in shows was not an option. Giving her giving her almost failed attempt at the rehearsals, Glamour was sure that she would end up behind bars sooner rather than later. The one left with getting a job and paying for a ticket herself, but even that came with problems. It would likely take a long time to find a job, and even if she did manage to get one, she knew fashion shows were expensive, and the amount of time she would need to save up more for even one would be better spent trying to find a pony to extract love from. This is unless she could get a job working in fashion shows. That would pretty much grant her free entry to every one of them. Glamour stopped walking when she decided to let her brain pursue the crazy idea and think of what kind of job and she could do. A backstage worker would probably be the easiest job to get, but she could already see complications. She would have to be relatively close to a duration audience to feed, and at the rehearsal, she knows how busy many workers were. Even though she did not know exactly what they were doing, she saw that they had a lot of sorts of tasks and were sent out all over the place. There was no guarantee she would have the time or would even be enough to harvest the adoration. She would probably would not last long if her job she was constantly shirking her duties to go feed. Glamour then wondered if she could try and be a designer, but the idea was dismissed quickly. It would be difficult to constantly make good enough dresses for the fashion shows. It would also be difficult to make even one dress that her knowledge to make dressmaking was limited to pretty much nothing. The only thing being a model. For what she saw that she had to wear a dress, walk down the runway and look pretty. Glamour froze. She had worn dress before and been walking since she was little. She would probably manage those two things and look pretty at the same time. Being a model also meant that she would be the center of all the adoration. Emotion directed at the changelings was far more potent than scavenging for the surrounding area. After all, there was a reason Queen Chrysalis surrounded herself with so many subjects. A smile appeared on Glemma's face as the idea grew and more enticing. It did not take long before she was trotted into place with glee. If this plan worked, she would never have to worry about scourging for food. That's it, Glemma shouted cheerfully. I'm gonna be a fashion model. She was then buried under a mound of soil and flowers. Shut up! Some police are trying to sleep. A long sigh came from the pile of dirt before Glamour emerged from the soil and prepared for the next day. Glamour found sleeping to be a bit due to her goodness. Yet despite the lost sleep, she woke up full of energy, ready for a running to go and become a fashion model. She remembered Coco mentioning that the organizer of the show had an office in the same building as the fashion show. She would show with her destination also known, Glamour flew off. Facing little air traffic along the way, Glamour arrived at the building after a smooth short flight and found no guards were barring entrance through the front doors. Entering the building through the proper entrance, Glamour immediately saw a halfway full door straight ahead when she stepped into the lobby. And to her right were a set of giant double doors, no doubt housing the performance area behind them. A number of tall potted plants were placed against the walls, as a few odd-looking paintings that suspiciously looked like some pony had just chunk a can of paint and spat onto the canvas. The sound of a typewriter clanking drew her attention. To the left, where a light lavender man with a yellow mane was busy typing away from behind the receptionist's desk. She wore a white collar tied together by a small black bow and purple glasses, and three white gems on each upper corner. Hi there, Glamour greeted as she trotted up to the receptionist. Yes, how can I help you? The man asked in a bored voice, not even looking up from her work. Do you know if I could apply to be a fashion model here? The mayor stopped to glance up at Glamour for a few seconds before nodding. You want to see Prim Hemline there? She's the one running everything around here. Can I see her right away? The receptionist opened up a planner, read over a page, and nodded. It looks like she's in her office right now. Before she has to go through more preparation for tomorrow's show. She then pointed to a hallway. Prim's office is down that hall, up the stairs, last door on your left. Thank you. Glamour proceeded to the office as quickly as possible without actually running, skipping, or other methods of movement that would betray her enthusiasm. As as soon as she found the door with Prim Hemline's name on it, she opened it and stood right on in with a smile, only for it to instantly disappear. Prim Hemline was a dark gray pony with a bright almond mane. She wore a pink she wore a faintly pink colored shirt with a white trim. That was not what Grandma was paying attention to. Prim was giving her a whiffly glare, and that was making her confidence and endurance flee from an underground bunker, where they would begin to realize that why the pony population was so heavily skewed towards mares. Who are you, and why do you barge in my office without knocking? Demanded Prim. Glamour gulped. So much for first impressions, she thought before clearing her throat. Hi, Miss Hemline. Sorry for disturbing you. My name is Nutmeg, and I would like to apply for a position as a fashion model, if it's alright with you. Prim rested her head on a hoof, and her eyes looked up down Glamour's disguised body. A few seconds later, she replied with a flat no. What? Why? You didn't even give me a Miss Nutmeg. You look like you have just dug your way out of the ground with all the dirt in your mane and coat. The crooked feathers in your wings also tell me that you are in urgent need of freeing. Why should I bother with you if you don't even take the time to effort as at least make yourself presentable? But even I ignore your terrible personal hygiene. You may bit too much muscle in your legs, and your appearance is just too plain to be on stage. But I can easily fix my appearance. I could be a model. Prim sighed. All right. If humor were you a bit more, how much experience do you have in modeling? Well, well, none. Huh. Do you have any knowledge at all how to be a model? Glamour swore the room was becoming harder by the second. You, put on a dress, walk on the stage, and look pretty. Prim buried her face with a hoof and let an exasperated sigh. An oversimplification of process and insulting to the profession. Tell me, why should I let a man who does not have the right look or even experience in the most prompted fashion organizations in Equestria? Because it will be very nice of you. Glamour vented with a sheepish grin. Prim gave an even more scary look that made it clear to Glamour that she had screwed up horribly. My answer remains the same. You have no place here. She turned her attention back to the papers on her desk and waved Glamour away. Now leave me be. I am very busy and no time for ponies who have no appreciation for what you've done here. Glamour scrambled over to Prim and planted her photos on the desk. No, hey, please give me a chance. I could. Miss Nutmeg, we are done here. Remove yourself this instant, or I will call security. But I. Glenda's whole body drooped as she slid back from the desk. Uh, okay. Thank you for your time. Glenda slowly and quietly exited the room and closed the office doors behind her without looking at Prim. Only when she was halfway down the hall and a few slippers escaped her. Even though the idea had only come for last night. Having the idea of shutdown, she fully and Primly stung her a lot. She hardly thought that she found an easy way to feed herself of the rest of her life, but Hemline had pretty much crushed the dream into dust and blew the debris into her eyes. After dragging hers back to the front door, she stopped when she heard two males speaking in the lobby. Here you go, Grace. Clemens immediately recognized that voice as Coco's. Oh my goodness. Coffee. Gimme. Glenna has recognized the receptionist's voice, but this time it was without a much's voice. Thank you, Coco. You're a lifesaver. Glenna let a quiet groan as she heard Coco's giggle. She did not feel like talking to Coco, what she was so shaken for verbally lashing. But she had heard two mirrors chatting away. It seems it was another thing that was not going to go with her way today. No other way of building, and the possibility that one of the males would come down the hall. Her only chance was to quietly make her way down the door and hope that the two males were distracted. Creeping out into the lobby, Glamour saw that Coco and Grace had not noticed her and quickly hid behind the closet potted plant. Glamour, Glamour grunted as she pulled the potted wet plant with her, trying to keep herself hidden as she slowly made her way through the lobby. But the heavy object was barely budging for her efforts. This is it. Until Glamour got impatient and pulled even harder. She let out a yelp when she slipped, tipping the plant and causing the both of them to clatter to the floor. As the mask quickly turned to look at her, Glamour wondered why is it seem even the power plants have things against her. Hey, what do you think you're doing? Grace cried out. Nutmeg, is that you? Coco asked. Hi, Coco. Glamour replied quietly as she got up. Wait, you know this man, Coco? She's a friend of mine. Glamour eyes widened. Wait, we're friends? We have only met each other for like half a night. Coco smiled. That may be so. We have a good time together at rehearsal, and you helped me cheer me up when I was feeling down. At least to me, I will say we're friends. Um, um, thanks. A small smile appeared on Glamour's lips. So, I would be happy to be friends as you will. So, what are you doing, Nutmeg? And just as quickly as it came, Glamour's smile disappeared. I was, um. She bit her lip as she gaze went down to the floor. She wanted to apply for a job as a fashion model. Grace answered for her. You did? How did it go? Glamour stayed silent. Her gaze remained glued to the floor. Oh, Nutmeg, I am so sorry. With her attention focused on the floor, Glamour did not notice Coco approach her, and she felt her hopes wrapped around her. She let out a tiny squeak when she was pulled into a hug. Are you alright? Glamour blinked before giving a nod. Uh, I'll be fine. Do you want to talk about it? Glamour tensed up. While the hug did make her feel better, Disappointment of failing her interview still weighed heavily upon her head. As much she would have likely to spend some time with Coco, her their talk would likely go into question. Yeah, she did not have the answer to lie her way through. Actually, I would like some time alone if you don't mind. Oh, all right. Coco said as she entered her hug. The disappointment in her voice was not lost on Glamour's. Um, I I hope you feel better soon. Thanks, thanks, Coco. Maybe we could talk sometime at a time. Bye. Glamour walked past her new friend and made her way out the door. Nutmeg, wait. Glamour looked back. Yes. I. Coco opened her mouth and raised her hoof to take a step closer, but stopped. Her eye drifted to the floor, and she let her sigh looking back to Glamour. I'll see you tomorrow. Glam, Glamour, Glamour slowly nodded. Yeah. See you. As soon as she exited the building, Glamis flew away as she found a cloud that she was sight a building that now housed her shattered dreams. Laying down in the fluffy surface, Glamis sighed as she began her sulking. With all the time she had ran out of times or failed to get her mark, she would have been used failures and disappointments. Even the invasion of Cancelot did not sting as much as her failed interview. The problems that she had thought that she was way too drastically improved her light and put too much of her hopes on a makeshift plan. As a result, she allowed her judgment to cloud it in a lot of excitement and rush. She believed that the job of the model was a simple one, but Prim Hemline made it clear that it was not the case, and her confidence left her ill prepared for reality. She had failed before she even started. With her main plant in ruins, it looked like she was going to have to resort to the old ways, trying to drown out her depression. She had forced herself to figure out that she could be able to find a couple to squelch love from. She also started poking as possible escape routes of Manhattan for when the inevitable moment that she exposed and would be forced to run for her life. She figured she might as well decide what was the next town on her list that she could repeat the whole process. Glamour and Glamour groaned and planted her face into the cloud. She was tired of Roy for the next meal that she tried of having to pretend that to be someone else and tried to travel from town to town. She was tired of endless cycle of running and hiding. All the life that she had been fighting just to survive that she wanted more than that. She wanted to place to call home, to have fun, and even to give the whole friends thing a try. Even that could never have known the real her. Glamour slowly raised her head off the cloud. For the first time, she had found it a glimmer of hope that would break the cycle and give her what she wanted. Despite her miserable failure, she was not going to let this chance slip away after only one try. If becoming a fashion model will be able to give her what she wanted, then she wanted to become a fashion model. I'll become a fashion model. It's the last thing I'll do. Glamour declared it to herself as she got back onto her hooves, replacing her depression with determination as she hint of stubbornness. The one advantage of being a trainee was if they fail on one thing in disguise, they could always try again, and with another disguise. But this Glamour will make sure to do this right. With her sprinkled with a red kind, Glamour flew back into the streets of Mayhem, with plans for her previous plan. During the time in the big city, she had passed a number of newspaper stands, and many of them carried a sort of magazines, including fashion. She could use the magazine to get a better idea on what the fashion world was like and prepare for herself for the second interview. It did not take long before she spotted on a such stand and quickly picked out a fashion she barely got in the middle before the mannequin crying out, "Hey, if you're gonna read that, you better buy it." "Oh, I kinda don't have any bits with me." "Then get your grubby hooves off to that and scram. I'm running a business here, not a library." "Library? Where's that?" Glamour asked. "The public service will be more friendly to her empty wallet." "You serious?" the newspaper pony asked. After she received a nod, she rolled her eyes. "Whatever, weirdo. At least you get a name out of my name. Go ahead and go down and couple of blocks until you hit Fifth Street. Take a right and then keep on going. You see it. Now get out of here, freeloader, before I make you say hello to my little friend." What little friend?" My attack kitten Mittens." "Right. Anyways, thanks for directions. I must be going now." And Glamour was flying off once again in pursuit of a fashionable knowledge. She evenly came upon a wide building with a short flight of stairs. There were multiple sets of tall doors between us. You see a set of pillars, and she followed directly quickly. Trusting besides what single line wall is. Other than a couple of areas where ponies could sit and read, tall bookshelves filled with even more books were placed with the whole building. Lemon had never seen this book before. She had covered all sorts of fascinating subjects. She had one interest at all, and lay somewhere with the labyrinth of paper and ink. Spying a man reading a book at the library front desk, Lemon went out and asked for help. "Hi, I'm looking for." "Shh!" Glenn blinked as now the man is giving a stern gaze and a hoof into front of the legs. "But I was just." "Shh! Can I just." "Shh! Why?" "Shh!" Glenn let out an expiration groan. "Shh!" Glen's eyes twitched before she could say even a man pointed a sign next to her in the woods. "Please be quiet. Ponies are reading." Glenn wondered if these facial conditions were beginning to affect her ability, or at least see the obvious. Oh, shh, sorry, Glamour whispered. She almost let out a sigh of relief when the library noted to keep herself lest she would be stressed yet again. "What do you need?" the librarian asked quietly. "Do you have anything on fashion?" The librarian merely pointed to a book section before returning to her book. Glamour bowed her head in thanks. Now, wanting to provide a strict librarian's quiet laugh again, and made her way down the library. At the set of fashion section, she found books on how to make clothes, what they would look like in years, and even how to properly wear clothes. But they offered little information on how to actually be a fashion model. Eventually, she found a shelf that contained fashion magazines. Putting out on a Then one, she opened it to find pages were covered with pictures of models, like what she saw at a rehearsal. She found both normal and outrageous clothing, but sprinkled throughout the magazine were several articles. While they primarily discussed the details in the mall and the clothes they were exhibiting, exhibiting, Glamour was able to glean some tips on how to be a fashion model. Glamour, a hoofful of magazines from the shelf, she moved herself to her desk and began copying the material from Annie how to achieve her dreams. Several hours, several trips back to the shelf, and a near-death experience involved a paper cut and collapsing tower of magazine layer. Glamour was feeling confident that she was be able to pass Prim Hemline's interview questionings and what now referring to take pictures to take care of the other problem. Prim had already dismissed her current form. She had needed to get herself a new look, and particularly when looking to good enough to be a model. However, she was not just copy one of the models in the magazine. All of them were known as would quickly come back to bite her in the plot. For her to be a fashion model to succeed, she would have the disguise was scratch. Conjuring a disguise without a pony to come off was going to use up a lot of her storage magic, but despite the risk, was worth the gamble if it meant she would never have to live in fear again. Switching to another magazine, Glamour saw a white unicorn with a mane of pink and white on the cover. She has seen the particular unicorn with a quite a few covers, and despite that them being a fancy complicated name, she knew that the model was popular because of her tall, more leafy body. Glamour's yawned and rubbed her eyes. She would begin to get an idea of looks she wanted in her head. She decided on one more magazine that would not hurt. Sliding another magazine in front of her, she paused and saw the cover. The magazine was dated earlier than most the she had read, but she drew most of the pictures on the yellow Pegasus. It was clear that the model was shy, but by the way she by the way she was hiding behind her pink mane. But Glamour thought she was the mare somewhere else before. In fact, she just looked like Glamour had screamed and pushed herself away from the magazine. Glamour was sitting in the chair, but push also caused to lean backwards. Glam found her hose and tried to balance the chair, but gravity won and brought the chair and crashing down the ground. Shh! Glamour smiled sheepishly from the floor and nervously waved back at the angry glares. She quickly but quietly sat back on the chair and flopped on the seats behind it. Slowly, Glamour peeked up under cover and saw the yellow pages on the other magazine. The man was none other than Fluttershy, one of the elements of Harmony and Defenders Equestria. Glamour heard that Fluttershy and the rest of the Harmony elements would have wiped out the whole battalion of changes by themselves. It would have been more before were finally seduced. When Glamour was sure the printed picture would not suddenly come to life and possibly pummel her to pieces, she carefully grabbed Fluttershy's magazine and began reading it. The entire magazine was dedicated to Yellow Pegasus, and Glamour was surprised to see the supposed fearsome warrior that showside and meek in the pictures. Just about every picture of Fluttershy was how it was her trying to hide from the camera. According to the articles, she was a big hit during her career, but only lasted a short time before she unexpectedly quit. Probably to get too busy battling dragons and manticores. Or something like that. Glamour muttered as she set down the magazine. Glamour leaned back in the chair and glanced over at a clock on the wall. The library was going to close soon, ending her cram session with fortunately, she was almost done with her preparation for the interview. All that was left was her disguise. Glamour looked around trying to find a place that she could put her disguise. Copying a pony's appearance only tried to, but creating her own would be a bit longer. If any pony saw her while she was casting a spell, all her efforts would go to waste. Her first thought was to use the bathroom, but she realized taking images of beautiful males to the bathroom was going to be really suspicious. Looking around a bit more, she grinned when she spied the section on ancient tax codes. Whether it was ponies, changelings, or other species on the planet that will agree that the only super nerds that spend way too much money would find an interest in this dull subject. Taking up a few choice magazines with her, Glamour made her way down to the deserted section, noted of piles of dull and cobwebs all over the seemingly abandoned part of the library. After laying out on the magazines on the nearby table and giving one of her glances at the pictures, and closed her eyes and started imagining to look at what she wanted. The changing horn appeared on her head and softly glowed green, bathed on the surrounding area. The pony in her mind she had felt a familiar tingle as a ring started raising her hooves. Instead of quickly washing over her entire body, tingling sensation crept slowly up her legs. Glamour could feel the transformation take effect, but she kept her eyes shut, keeping her concentration on the picture in her head. She felt the magic working up her chest, removing the feeling out of the feathered wings, and continued her neck up, before the whole body ending up at her horn. When when the tingling sensations finally stopped, she let a big inhale and opened her eyes. She immediately closed her eyes again and what she saw spinning around. A moan escaped from her as she brought her hoof to her aching head, but a dizzy almost made her fall. She sat down on her haunches, trying to make in deep breaths. As expected, the act of using so much magic as one with the side effects that were minor annoyances that would go away quickly. While she was obnoxious to see, her new form of funneling headache was making a big hard to anything to attention to anything else. Eventually, Glamour found her body from the exaggeration and let out a sigh of relief. Opening her eyes, she immediately reached out for the compact mirror in her bag and looked at her reflection. She let out a gasp at what she saw. Staring back at her was a pupilled eyes colored in the same blue as a changeling. She turned her head around and marvelously seeing her own light gray coat and a key mark of a spotlight shining down. On her head was a unicorn horn, bruising against the edge of a pink mane. Glimmer let quite notice a few popular models, including Fluttershy. A pink mane, so she had the same with her mane. The right side was slightly longer than with the feature of the chest. The other side was covered in a bit of the left eye covered upwards. A frown appeared on her face as she took a look closer in the mane. Apparently, she was a little bug in her spell, and it was model of a pink mane and a black color instead. Looking back at the swishing pink tail, she saw the familiar effect that had also occurred. Yet, despite it being international, Glamour found herself liking the pattern the more she liked it and decided to keep it. After stuffing all the image the magazines in a manner that would make whoever who had to clean up after sobbing mess. She exited the library and into the Manhattan light night. While the nightlife was a big city almost lively a daytime, Glamour had only one thing in her mind, and that was to sleep. Crying, a new phone had left her exhausted, and she wanted to to, to be well rested for the interview, and then attend the fashion show. Hopefully tomorrow will be finally a bring to her life. She looked up to the sky and leaped in the air. She only rose a few inches into the air before landing right back onto the ground. Glamour faced hoofed. She had forgotten the unicorns cannot fly, and with her magic reserves running low, she could not afford to switch back to a Pegasus and then back to a new look. With no way to get to a cloud and no bits on hoof, Glamour trudged off to a suitable lodgings for a night. Maybe if she was lucky, she would find a nice box to sleep in. Well, everyone, I'm back. So I'm sorry I didn't post anything for a while. Well, I'm back right now, which is good. Well, I had to keep up with other things for life. Well, I'm glad to be back and to see you all. So I'll post the next video in a few days or just today or tomorrow. And also stay bony.